Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, the number one network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the number one sports show in the universe, according to Big C and them good old boys down south. I want to say bienvenidos to all of our listeners in Latin America, also across the pond, and London, England, as well as Paris, France. And, of course, I want to say hello to the Big C tribe out in Africa, so thank you for following Big C. I thought we had it first, Big C, but some good old boys been broadcasting way when they built the pyramids. They just didn't tell us about it. You know we love you up in Canada, but there's still no one we love more than you good old boys down south. And the land of the free and the home of the brave. Big C, how's it going for you good old boys down south on Happy Halloween, October 31st?
Well, Jonathan, I almost had to call the police a little while ago. All these kids been beating on my door, and I didn't know why they're doing that. Now it's time to rest.
Yeah.
The World Series tonight, I didn't remember the last game we had. It took me 5 hours and 15 minutes to watch, and I had
Yeah.
to take no notes and drink, I had coffee the whole next day, just trying to stay awake, and now I got these kids waking me up from my nap.
Yeah, those kids don't understand. The World Series is on. Who needs candy when you got candy watching the World Series? I do want to say today is a beautiful October 31st, 2017, the land of the free, the home of the brave. So many things happening all over the world of sports. Number one, I just want to pay a little homage to the Donald Trump administration. I think he's finding out that Manafort's not dealing with fake news. Okay, and so a lot of guys in Washington are in some deep, deep trouble. It's a shame, but it's true. Sometimes the truth will come out when you don't expect it to. But all the way across the country, in Los Angeles, California, I think about Vin Scully and what he's meant to the game of baseball. I think about all the players that have played this game, especially in Dodger Blue, since they came from the East Coast, along with the Giants when they left New York and came to the West Coast. And I look at Houston, the team that's never won a World Series, and they're in a region of the country where oil money runs deep, and oil money couldn't stop the hurricanes and the flooding from damaging a lot of the properties and the people's lives in Texas. So I know it's going to have been an emotional month for the state of Texas, but California's dealt with its own issues with wildfires and other things. But baseball, a lot like what football does every week, is galvanizing this country. I even heard some good old boys in politics from the White House saying they can't wait to see this game tonight, Big C. An amazing game it should be. I hope we get 7 games out of it. Your thoughts?
Well, when you look at the contrasting backdrops, Charlton, going into the World Series, they couldn't be more evident. You have this blue-collar town in Houston,
Yeah.
the fourth largest city in the U.S., versus this Tinseltown of Los Angeles. We've always known the city of stars and Hollywood.
Yeah.
But, when you think about the backdrop of baseball and what it's done
Yeah.
this year, beyond any other year as far as excitement, throwing all the analytics out of the window, and
Yep.
it comes down to the game being played between the stripes, Charlton. This has been one exciting series. We're talking about lead changes that we've never seen before in the World Series.
Yeah.
The focus amount of home runs that have been hit, breaking records, Charlton. Pitchers that you feel that were untouchable getting touched.
Yeah.
This has just been one amazing, exciting series, Charlton, and it's been a nail biter every game.
Yeah.
When you think you have it figured out because of all the experts that told us we don't know what we're seeing,
Yep.
listen to what they're saying. But, baseball has come back to realism.
Yeah.
It's the purest for the games for the fans to enjoy, Charlton, and they have delivered this year in the World Series.
Well, I tell you, this segment sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. And when you go by and test drive yours, tell them Charlton and Big C sent you. You'll see a lot of Escalades in the parking lot tonight at Chavez Ravine, home of the Dodgers. And I know the game is already right at the point where they're starting out. But I tell you, what I've seen with the bats of the Astros, George Springer, he's comfortable taking over after a lot of things have happened in the history of the baseball, players being traded and sent from different teams, and he's been a great player for them as a center fielder for Houston. Fisher out in left field and Riddick in right field. Correa's been great swinging the bat. Bergman's been well. McCann's done well swinging the bat even as a catcher. But Altuve, I think he's come onto the scene. Remember, this kid tried to play Major League Baseball as a teenager, and he couldn't make it. But he decided he would stick with it. He came back, and now he's going to be the AL MVP, maybe the league MVP. But I think a lot of the Dodgers have a lot to say about that too. Just your thoughts on Houston. Such a meteoric rise. They used to play in the National League. Now they're in the American League. And they're a really good team, and they're really showing that they can hit the ball big. So your thoughts on their chances in L.A. tonight?
You know, Charleston, Major League Baseball did a realignment a few years ago, such as the NFL had done back in the 70s when they took some teams with the merger and put them into the AFL to balance out the conference.
Yeah.
But, you know, when we look at Altuve, who's been a marvelous player, who's led the major leagues in batting over the last 3 seasons.
Yeah.
He's had some troubles on the road in the playoffs because he's only batted 176. Now, he will be critical if the Houston Astros go on and win this World Series tonight because he's batting that paltry under 200. He's not even batting his weight right now.
Yeah.
So, you know, if he can put, you know, a couple balls in play tonight, Charleston, that will be a major difference in the offense for the Houston Astros, who have struggled on the road. But, you know, this is a game, Charlton, that when you put your best of the best,
Yeah.
I don't expect any starter tonight, Charlton, to go more than 5 innings.
Yeah.
Because this is a game that you throw everybody because you want the series to end or be extended tonight from both sides. And so the Dodgers, you know, you're going to bring Kershaw out. And this is a guy who can be touched. He's proven that
Yeah.
in the past few games. But Hill is going to start tonight.
Yeah.
And I think this is what has cost the Dodgers their position now, is that the manager pulled Hill
Too soon.
in a
Yeah.
game that he was dominating,
Yeah.
wanting to go with the reliever. And Houston came back to win game 2.
Yeah.
But Hill, you know, is one of those pitchers, Charlton, that is unfazed by what happens to him when a batter hits the ball. He comes right back with that mentality that I'm going to get the next guy out.
Yeah, and I think that's one thing that goes in the Dodgers' favor. You know, there's nothing like a desperate dog. If you ever been in, not to use the vernacular that of Michael Vick, but if you ever been in a dog fight or a fist fight with somebody, you tend to come out swinging harder when your back's against the wall. And sometimes athletes are told, well, they're going to play tight. I don't think you play tight at this level. You just go out and have fun. Now, if you're the Dodgers, you got to get something out of Turner, third baseman, batting .371, and then Puig batting .375 coming into this series. But those two guys can hit the ball as well as anyone, and then Bellinger, the first baseman, can hit the ball well. Sager's a great hitter, batting .357 before this series. And you look at Grandal catching for the Dodgers. But you just brought up a great point in Hill and Verlander. Verlander's given $28 million a year to try to help the Astros win it all. But Hill is not the guy that all the pressure's on. It's been on Kershaw, and whether people believe it or not, Kershaw really hasn't come through. That's just the fact. They can Google that as well. But Hill, he was doing great until he got pulled. And Big C, your thoughts on giving him more leeway tonight at Chavez Ravine, because I think he really is the clue. He's the catcher. He's the pitcher that's going to give the Dodgers a chance to win this game, not going to the bench early. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, you would think that would happen by the manager Martinez, that he would allow him a little more rope. But in a situation like this, when you don't play for tomorrow, you're playing for the day, sometimes managers panic, and we've seen that in World Series throughout the years, Charlton.
Yeah.
Is that you go to your secondary thought instead of allowing the guy to work himself through an inning.
Yeah.
You know, it's like even putting in a pinch runner sometime in the game, saying, well, I want more speed.
Yeah.
And the guy at the base either grounds out or strikes out.
Yeah.
So, you know, you overthink yourself sometimes in these scenarios. The greatest thing about professional athletics is that you go with what got you there.
Yeah.
Don't change up in the middle of the stream. Go with what got you there.
Yep.
And that's where success comes from, Charles.
Yeah, and you know, another thing too, with a 13-12 win and extra innings in Houston, I know a lot of people are saying, and I hear it all over sports talk radio, well, Houston can really hit the bat. You know, they scored one more run than the Dodgers at home. In fact, they had to come from behind several times because there were a lot of questionable pitchers. Sometimes I mean, it's hard to get both of those teams to give up 11 and 12 runs if they played 3 games, let alone in 1. So even though Houston's hitting the ball well, I think the Dodgers hit the ball even better because they're not accustomed to scoring 12 runs in a game. They're not accustomed to scoring 10. They average right about between 5 and 6 runs a game. And Houston's been the highest scoring team in baseball. Along with the ball being juiced or whatever they put on it to make it go farther, Big C, I know you talked about it earlier in the year that they're not checking guys for steroids. Should they start checking the baseballs for juice, Big C? Does that make sense?
You know, Charlton, they've talked about the baseball being a little tighter.
Yeah.
On the ball, Charlton, but, you know, whatever baseball does for excitement, it's what baseball does.
Yeah.
You know, it's hard to look at these analogies in sports and say that something has been altered over
Yep.
When you look at it, the players are still the players. The confine has never changed in the Major League Baseball park. The diamond has the same diagram. The athletes have become bigger, better, and stronger.
Yeah.
No one gives them credit for that. These athletes now work out year round.
Yep.
They just don't come into spring training saying, okay, now I got to get into shape. They come into spring
Yeah.
spring training
Yeah.
ready to play ball.
Yeah.
It's like NFL players go to training camp. They can line up on day one because most of them remember the players from the previous season.
Yep.
They don't come in for conditioning. They're already in condition. But when you look at the talent level now in baseball,
Yeah.
guys that are utility players would have been starters in Major League Baseball 40 years ago.
Yeah.
Because that's just how good the talent level is. When you're not starting in Major League Baseball, you almost have to explain why
Yeah.
you're not.
Yep.
Because all these athletes are so great nowadays, Charlton.
Yeah, that's a very good point too. And one more thing I want to bring up, because we don't know if tonight's the last game or not, and we know the baseball universe, they want this to be another game, just 2 more nights of baseball at Chavez Ravine. I think you could say that this is like the Taj Mahal of baseball. Before I would have said the Yankee Stadium or even the Cubs Stadium, Wrigley Field in Chicago, or even Fenway Park in Boston. But those ballparks have added on seatings. They don't have the same dimensions they've had for several years. But Dodger Stadium, nothing's really changed other than a paint job, Big C. What does this mean? You've been in broadcast many years. You know what it's like. You work with some of the old-time greats. For Vin Scully, I still want to say for the baseball universe, wouldn't it be great to say 10 years from now that Vin Scully threw out the game pitch for Game 7 in the World Series with the Astros and the Dodgers at Chavez Ravine? Your thoughts on what Vin Scully must be thinking, because you know he's seen so much in his 57 years of broadcasting, even though he's been away from the game 2 years. Big C, your thoughts?
Charlton, it would be one of those marvels in history. It'd be like to seeing the 2 President Bushes throwing out
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
a couple nights ago in Houston.
Good point.
That type of stage will never come about again.
Yeah.
Where you have 2 former presidents in the same stadium of the same family.
Yep.
Throwing out a pitch in a game in the World Series.
Yeah.
To have Vin Scully's come back, Charlton, after being a part of this Dodgers organization ever since they've been in Los Angeles, would be a marvelous feat. But the Dodgers have to get through tonight to make that incident occur, Charlton. It's not a forgiven that will occur.
Yeah.
With these hot bats from Houston.
Yeah.
This is a team that's on the brink. Houston is going to come out and play like this is the last game. They're not looking for a Game 7.
Yeah.
The Dodgers are trying to get to a Game 7. Houston is not looking for that, Charlton.
Well, obviously, we're going to see some great baseball. Nothing leads us to believe anything other than that. And great pitching and great hitting, that's what you want. Now, I know some people, Big C, going back to the old school, they wanted those 3-1 ball games. They wanted those 4-3 ball games, or even a 2-1, what you call those barn burners, a 2-1 score when you go into the 9th inning, the game is 2-1. I don't want to see that. I want to see, and I think that the team that wins this has to score at least 7 runs in this game, because there's too many hot bats. I think the pitching will be much better. No one could tell me that Kershaw wouldn't go past 5, not when he had everything in his hands. And I see there's at least 7 runs to win this game. I don't see someone's winning this game a 4-3 score or a 5-6, or 6-5 score. Probably 7-6 or 7-5, somewhere in there. So no matter what happens, it should be a great game for the world of Major League Baseball. I do want to give a shout out to Aurora Trujillo. She's part of the MMA and working with Ring Card Girls. Follows Big C Sports. So obviously tonight we know it's going to be great baseball. But Big C, I do want to transition to one of your favorite sports. I'm not talking about chicken fighting like you and Michael Vick get together sometime and he dropped down for everybody. But I'm just going to say that what in the world is wrong with college football? Rankings really don't matter when you put Alabama behind Georgia. And it's almost like Nick Saban said, he doesn't care about the ratings. And someone said, okay, well, make him number 2. I'm sure he cares now about the ratings because it's less of a respect game when you're at number 2 and never lost to Georgia in a long time. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I actually like the position that Alabama's in. Everybody's running for them, okay?
Yeah.
Think about it. You're number 1. Everybody's looking up at you.
Yeah.
Sometimes when you're number 2 and 3, no one pays attention to you, Charlton. And so maybe this even does him a favor by taking the pressures off of his players that they having to defend the number 1 spot.
Yeah.
Now you look at what Alabama's done consistently. I mean, Georgia's had a marvelous season.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
He's beat more ranked teams than Alabama has. That's the eye test, okay?
Yeah.
But the test comes down to that SEC championship game. Who will come out in that game? So as
Yep.
We're not worried about this week. We're worried about next week, the week after that, and the week after that, which only a true college football coach will tell his players that.
Yeah.
If you're worried about what's going to occur 5 weeks from now and the season's not over,
Yeah.
then you're going to lose somewhere.
Well,
And so this is a boost for Alabama mentally, because now it motivates those players that they don't respect us.
yeah.
The people who make the polls and the rankings don't respect us. We haven't lost a game since the last game of last year. Now all of a sudden seeing we're falling in the polls.
Yeah.
You think about this, Charlton. In the 3 years of the BCS, 4 years, whatever it is,
Yeah.
7 teams that were ranked in the top poll, in the first poll that came out,
Yeah.
did not make the playoffs.
Yeah.
This really doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
And when you look at where the rankings are, you think about the first 2 teams in the rankings are undefeated.
Yep.
All right?
Yep.
Number 9 and 8. I mean, number 9 and 10 are undefeated.
Yeah.
When you look at Wisconsin and Miami.
Yeah.
They're undefeated. So you got a lot of one-loss teams in between that still can lose another game and not be in.
Yep.
So as I'm Alabama, I'm not really worried about it. My schedule strength is okay for me to run the table the rest of the season.
Yeah, you're right. Sometimes when you get into the ring, if you're an MMA guy or you're in the boxing, things change when you get into the ring and get punched upside the head. So no matter what your ranked is when you get into the game, that's what matters. But I do want to get your thoughts on Wisconsin gets no respect. I'm not saying their schedule has deserved any more respect than, say, a Penn State or Ohio State. But for 2 teams that come out of that conference, and the team that's undefeated in that conference gets no love whatsoever, and I know everything will pan out as they start playing each other. What are the boys thinking in Madison, Wisconsin? Them good old boys eating cheese and bratwurst, what do they call it, bratwurst? They don't even get in the rankings in the top 4 or 5 Big C. What do they have to do in order to be like the one-loss teams ahead of them and from the same conference, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, what you have to do is just keep winning.
Yep.
Okay?
Yep.
Chris just has to keep his team on track.
Yeah.
Just keep winning. That takes care of itself. If you make it to the conference championship game, Charlton, that takes care of itself. It's nice to be ranked. If we go back and we look at the preseason polls, Charlton, just for the regular season,
Yeah.
how many teams are left in the top 10? In the top 5, realistically. There's 1 team left to really, or 2 teams, Clemson and Alabama.
Yeah.
You know, and Clemson's loss, you got to give them a mulligan for that, because they lost their quarterback.
The quarterback, yeah.
To a concussion. So I give them a mulligan on that if I'm playing golf.
Yeah.
But, you know, when I look overall, if you look at all the teams that have losses now,
Yep.
and guys that were in the Heisman chase,
Yep.
that are not there anymore. So all of this stuff that we get year in and year out, this is the preseason, you know, top 10, top 25.
Yeah.
We don't need that. You know, these teams are going to come out and they're going to play. As the dust settles, it will settle itself as far as who's 1 through 10.
Yeah. That's a.
Don't let all these so-called experts who are outside the game determine who's who.
Yeah.
Let it play out on the field. I've always been a proponent of that.
Yeah.
Let the athletes handle the battle and the polling, Charlton.
Yeah.
You know, don't bring in all these naysayers and sports writers saying, well, this guy is better than that guy.
Yeah.
You know, it's like when we talk about players. How many of these sports writers have seen the kid out at Stanford, Love, run the football this year?
They're asleep when he comes.
200 yards a game.
Yeah, they're asleep at kickoff.
How many of these guys that see him play because
Yeah.
they're asleep? They've had a six-pack and they've gone to sleep.
You know you good old boys with the 6-packs and the moonshine. They're all sleeping in by the time kickoff starts on the West Coast. Do want to get your thoughts. Clemson has the best schedule, you know, rankings-wise. They've had the best schedule of the teams in the top. And then you look at a team like Ohio State. They lost by 2 touchdowns at home to Oklahoma, which lost to Iowa State. Now, I know Ohio State came back and beat Penn State, so that builds credibility. We know it's any given Saturday, Big C. But for Oklahoma to still be hanging around the bowl picture when they lose to Iowa State, I know Iowa State also knocked off TCU, but the fact I mean, it wasn't like they came in there and lost to a top 5 team. They lost to a team that wasn't, I mean, the bottom, I think they were number 25. But either way, when it's on the field, they'll decide what happens on the field. Let me get one more thought. You know, we'd be remiss if we didn't mention the great Notre Dame was touchdown Jesus, which is really black. Jesus was a black according to the Bible, but they painted him gold up at Notre Dame. Sometimes the truth hurts, Big C. Your thoughts on, you know what, Stanford might knock off Notre Dame at the end of the year. They got to come out to the West Coast where people are going to be sleeping, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, you're going to have 2 great running teams when that battle occurs, Charlton.
Yeah.
Notre Dame now has creeped in at number 3 in the polling.
How?
This is a team that, you know, that everybody thought the coach might be gone. Now he has a number 3 ranked team in the country.
Yeah.
They have a dominant said, well, they can't win with him. I mean, if he was white, everybody said they could win.
he lacks the accuracy, is what they say.
Look at the quarterbacks that he's beat, Charlton.
Yeah.
They were supposed to have been better. North Carolina State last week. He
Yep.
beat, Sam Donald.
UC at USC.
Yep. Through him, Charlton. So,
Yeah.
you know, this is what I mean by these so-called experts.
Yeah.
Notice who's better than better. Let it play out on the field. I mean, this is what you look for. I mean, it's like even with Oklahoma, you talk about them hanging around.
Yeah.
They may be gone after this week because they got Bedlam against Oklahoma State.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yep.
Rudolph is not going to slow down throwing the ball against Oklahoma's defense. He's seen the vulnerability of them. So this is a game that Oklahoma's defense secondary could easily give up 500 yards passing.
Yeah.
So Oklahoma will either play itself into the playoffs this week or play itself out of the playoffs, and it will settle their struggles.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I do want to touch on one more thing before we get into a few other subjects. Last night, Monday Night Football, the Kansas City Chiefs, you know, that's a team that can flat out play football. Denver, I mean, I'm not even frustrated because it's not my money. And I'm not even saying this about Colin Kaepernick. I'm saying when you have a quarterback at the NFL level that keeps throwing interceptions. We've seen it with Flacco. We've seen it with Manning at New York. And now we're seeing it in Denver where they have still a good defense. But Big C, as a defensive guy, you can't stay on the field all the time and have your offense come on the field and turn the ball over again. And Elway can't find someone better to throw the football for the Denver Broncos with that type of defense. Your thoughts, Big C?
Well, you know, Elway invested money in an offensive line when he had Peyton Manning.
When he had Manning.
Because he knew he had to protect it.
Yep.
But since Peyton Manning's departure from Denver, they've had no offensive line. It's been a revolving door up front trying to protect the quarterbacks. It's easy to say it's all on Trevor Siemian.
Yep.
Trevor Siemian is a pocket passer. He's not a running quarterback. But that's the situation that they forced him into, Charlton. They forced him into trying to be an Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
A quarterback who can throw the ball on the move. He is not that type of quarterback. He won the job in Denver a couple of years ago sitting in the pocket.
Yep.
Then he got hurt. And now he realizes he has no offensive line, so he's running for his life. And he's throwing these interceptions.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't have the arm strength to push the ball down the field on the run. That's the biggest problem, making bad decisions, trying to throw back against the grain. But as much as you want to sit there, and we see that often because we only see the players, we got to look up in the luxury suite, in the owner's suite,
Yep.
and see John Elway sitting up there having a cocktail and try to figure out what he's thinking about.
He's selling cars. Isn't he selling?
Being maligned.
Isn't he selling more interested in selling SUVs up in Colorado than he is in trying to find an offensive line that can help them get back into the playoff race? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, that's what it seems like, Charlton. Because wintertime is coming to the Colorado. There's going to be a lot of four-wheel drive. There's need to be sold, so those big, heavy pickups and SUVs.
Yeah.
But, you know, he need to get some SUVs and put in front of his quarterback, Charlton. That's what John Elway needs to do. I mean, he's invested money in defense.
Yeah.
You got to invest money in offensive line, and we've seen that throughout the years of football.
Yeah.
Without an offensive line to protect your quarterback,
Yeah.
your number one asset, when you pay a quarterback the amount of money that you pay them,
Yeah.
and yet you have free agents and low-round draft picks on the offensive line, you don't even go out and spend a first-round draft pick on a left offensive tackle, a right offensive tackle,
Yeah.
even a guard. Your organization is not going to go anywhere, Charles.
Yeah, they got to figure that out. I want to say that sports is a billion-dollar industry, and boys and girls sports is the foundation to this billion-dollar industry. For every sporting event, you need Athletic and Event Insurance. We work with Ben and Mark. They've been around half a century. They work with Big C Sports, whether you're a pro team, a collegiate team, a high school team, even your mom and pop soccer leagues. When you reach out to them, let them know that Big C sent you. Big C, as we finish up on the NFL and we all into this big old World Series tonight down in the big L.A. I hear the Beat L.A. chant when they were in Houston, and now that they're back in L.A., what do they chant about beating Houston? I just think they say beat Houston, which is what they really got to do. But back to the NFL. Speaking of Houston, the Houston Texans made a trade today of one of their players that, well, really didn't appreciate being called what they call it, an inmate. Is that what they call people who commit crimes? They call them inmates, Big C. I think he got traded across the great Northwest to the Seattle Seahawks, where they actually tolerate the Black Lives Matter movement. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, you know, he was just out there, Dwayne Brown, an all-pro, four-time all-pro offensive tackle.
Four-time.
Started 136 consecutive games through the Houston Texans and set out the first part of the season in a contract dispute.
Yeah.
But he was very outspoken against owner Bob McNair, Charlton, in his inmate comments about the players.
Yeah.
And I guess McNair didn't appreciate that a player could be outspoken about the comments that he uses on a regular basis. So he facilitated a trade back to
Oh, yeah.
Wilson is elated.
Oh, yeah.
He gets an all-pro left off of the tackle because Wilson is Seattle's top rusher. There's no reason for him to be that.
No.
You got these running backs, and so they made this trade for Brown to protect his blind side, Charlton.
Yeah, that's a good point, and they need to do that. So, obviously, I think it's going to work out fine for him up in the Great Northwest. I want to get your thoughts also. Now, the Panthers also made a trade. Kelvin Benjamin, there's so many things happening in the world of the NFL trading. I know the deadline's coming up soon, but what are your thoughts on Benjamin? Is that a good thing for Carolina to get rid of him, Big C?
Well, Cam Newton has been struggling, Charlton. Cam Newton has been asking for help.
Yeah.
And who's the receivers that's left over now? I mean, you got Bunches, who was a tight end when he was at Michigan. He's been a converted wide receiver, doesn't have the breakaway speed.
Yep.
And who else is going to play? Cam Newton doesn't have a good offensive line.
No.
Even I know he's struggling with some weight problems.
Yep.
But you send him to Buffalo, where Buffalo's receivers have only had 45 receptions this year.
Yep.
This is a huge upgrade for Buffalo offensively. Now that you get a big target for Tyrod Taylor with his diminutive stature.
Yeah.
But this hurts Carolina all over again. You're leading your division. You get rid of your best receiver. Who's going to catch the ball now? Olsen is out at tight end, so you can see this offense struggling over the next couple of games, Charlton.
Yeah, that's a big point. It doesn't make any sense, but we're not the one writing the paychecks. Also, when you look at another trade that doesn't make a lot of sense, I know Jay Ajayi out of Boise State was a stud running back for the Miami Dolphins. And I know they brought in Cutler. They found $11 or $12 million to give Cutler to take naps on Sundays. That nice Sunday stroll that he takes on during the NFL season. There's nothing wrong with that, getting paid to sleep. But I look at Ajayi. Who's going to run the ball for the Dolphins now? Have they given up on the run game? Because if you don't have a guy who can get you 200 yards every now and then, and you're counting on Cutler who might get you 100 yards passing, what's their thinking down in Miami? Does that make any sense to you, Big C? You've seen a lot of things go down over the years.
Well, Charlton, there was two trades that were made that really didn't make any sense at all. We just talked about the Seattle trade.
Yep.
Philadelphia just lost their best offensive lineman, Jason Peters, 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
To a torn-up knee. Now, I would have thought if they were going to make a trade, they would have made the trade with Houston to get Brown.
Yeah.
A need that they needed, okay?
Yep.
And Seattle needed a running back because Wilson is the top rusher.
Yeah.
So why wasn't that trade made between Miami and Seattle for the running back and the trade between Houston and Philadelphia for the offensive tackle?
Yeah.
Sometimes when we talk about management, Charlton, and I know that, weed is legal in California. and
Not everywhere.
so I know part of everybody's problem. Okay?
He's a little bit relaxed.
So, when I think about some of the trades, maybe they need to drug test some personnel people.
Yeah.
These moves because in Denver, it's a mile-high city, and they're not high on their offensive line.
Yeah.
They're not high on their running game, and they make a move for an offensive tackle.
Hey, Big C. Big C. Yeah.
You need to show some love on the offensive line, and you didn't bring in one. You brought in another one.
Yeah.
And a rookie. They're the third leading rushing team in the NFL, Charles. Think about it.
Yeah.
You're the number 3 rushing team in the NFL, and you make a trade for a running back. How much better you expect to get? Who's got to sit down now?
Yeah.
Okay? So when you think about these things, you're number 3. Seattle's number 30.
Yep.
And you both make opposite moves.
Yeah. Doesn't make a lot of sense. Big C, I got a thought for you. Let's take a 4-time Pro Bowl player and trade him, and let's take a running back who can get us 200 yards. He's done a couple times this year, and trade him, and that's going to make us a better team. That doesn't make much sense at all. But again, we're not the one writing those checks, and when you're writing the checks, you can spend money on what you want to do. Especially, that's what I heard from Charles Barkley when he's hanging out in Vegas. It's my money, I do what I want to do. But that's part of life. I want to ask two more things on the NFL before we close out and get ready for this World Series. We're going to sit down and watch that. I look at some young quarterbacks. Dak Prescott, who was not a first-round pick. He was not a first choice, but he has the Cowboys rolling over the last 2 years. And then Deshaun Watson, we know how he went down. It's like they just didn't draft this guy. And it's looking like he's had the biggest change for his team as they lost their best player on defense in Watt. But you don't even notice it as much because Deshaun Watson's putting up such great numbers. He's not making you realize that they lost J.J. Watt. And then with Prescott, what he's doing for the Dallas Cowboys, even though Ezekiel Elliott's in some more trouble, and maybe who knows how that's going to turn out. But just your thoughts on those two great quarterbacks that were not the first choices when it came to being drafted. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, when you think about these two quarterbacks, Charlton, they
Yep.
Deshaun Watson, number one, Dak Prescott, number two, in QBR rating this season in the NFL.
Yeah.
And both of these quarterbacks were passed over multiple times.
Yeah.
You think about it, Deshaun Watson was passed over 11 times.
Wow.
11 times in the first round before he was picked.
Yeah.
And you think about Dak Prescott, he was passed over by the Dallas Cowboys, Charlton. Not once, not twice, not three, not four, 5 times before he was drafted.
Yeah.
5 times. They drafted 5 players in front of Dak Prescott, Charlton.
Yeah.
5.
Yeah.
And so when you think about the NFL thoughts on African-American quarterbacks,
Yeah.
and you look at the ones that are starting in the NFL now, Charlton, is that there's no credence given to these guys.
Yep.
You know, between them, Charlton, they're not making the money that the kid in Washington, your cousin, is making.
He's not my cousin, Big C. We got to DNA test that guy, Big C.
They're not making the money that the comeback kid in Detroit is making, okay?
Yeah.
They're not making the money that Sleepy down in Miami is making.
Sleepy Floyd or Sleepy cousin?
They're not making the money that I don't care Flacco.
Oh, man.
So
That's
when
funny.
you look at what you play players for what they produce,
Yeah.
and you look at what Deshaun Watson has done, he set records that nobody has set in the history of the NFL this last weekend.
Yeah.
You look at Dak Prescott, he hasn't had a sophomore slump, Charlton. When you think about him in his his season and a half
Yeah.
starting in the NFL as a starting quarterback, he's won 17 games.
Yep.
Okay? 17 games. And so when you think about the productivity of these quarterbacks, the lack of respect given to them
Yeah.
by the media and your buddies Todd McShay and Mel Kiper,
Yeah.
and even the general managers in pro football.
Yeah.
And there's going to be a few African-American quarterbacks come out of college this next season, Charlton.
Yeah.
They're going to be treated the same way. They're going to say, well, these guys can't get it done on the professional level.
Yeah.
In college,
Yeah.
And leaders, think about their leaders first and foremost, Charlton. They're
Yeah.
team captains.
Yeah.
So there's some people that respect them highly.
Yep.
And then they go out and produce. But they get no credit for it. But back to that Ezekiel Elliott situation that you were talking about, Charlton.
Yeah.
His suspension was upheld today in New York.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And let me give you a reason why it was upheld in New York, and that's the reason why they went to New York.
Yeah.
There was an owner who spoke out against a commissioner yesterday, okay?
Is his name Jones? Jones?
It's something like this.
Something about Mr. Jones, I think.
And I'm trying to figure out where the commissioner's office is. I mean, help me out specifically here.
Someplace close to the Atlantic Ocean, from what I understand, Big C.
Someplace close to the Atlantic Ocean.
Yeah.
And I'm going to think that this judge may know him across
You think so? Yeah.
I'm not saying that this
No, that would never happen in America.
I'm not saying the collusion is here. But sometimes you got to worry about when you're bothering somebody's neighbor. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay? And you think about the timing of what Jones said and what happened to Elliott and where it happened at.
Yeah.
And where the commissioner lives.
Yep.
Okay?
Yeah.
That you don't know if they live in the same neighborhood or not. But I can guarantee you they've crossed paths, and the guy has got some tickets from the commissioner in the past.
Well,
okay?
yeah.
I'm not saying it's collusion, but sometimes you got to watch whose grass you take a leak on, all right?
I understand you.
You gotta look out for that. So, Zeke Elliott is about to face a 6-game suspension.
Yeah.
Now, Jones came out with his tweet backlash today saying that, the commissioner mishandled this. If he'd have handled the Ray Rice thing, that he's making up for Ray Rice with Ezekiel Elliott. But there's been plenty other players that have gone under suspension since Ray Rice.
Oh, yeah.
Now, he signed Greg Hardy after Greg Hardy had been suspended for a year.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yep.
He didn't cry about that.
Nope.
But now that the commissioner's stepping in his house, he wanted to go after the commissioner. Now the commissioner said, okay, I can slow down your team.
Yeah.
All right?
Yeah.
I can call a buddy.
Yep.
What was that show that had a lifeline? That $1 million show you see on TV?
I'm not sure if it. Oh, he wants to be a millionaire. I want to be a millionaire, Big Z.
Yeah, you have lifelines. So I think the commissioner Goodell might have used the lifeline.
That's funny. That's funny. I'm sure he uses lifelines. Big C is back on July the 4th, 1939. Lou Gehrig proclaimed that he considered himself the luckiest man on earth, the 6-time World Series champion, a New York Yankees legend. Now we're out here in Dodgers Ravine in Los Angeles, California. The Dodgers led the Major League Baseball in attendance, averaging over 44,000 fans a game. They'll have it packed to the rafters today and tonight here in Los Angeles, California. I just want to get your thoughts on something that we want to see tonight in the World Series, and we'll close it out with your thoughts, Big C. I want to just say that back in the day, there was a man by the name of Drew Bondini Brown. He was Muhammad Ali's right-hand man. He would always tell Ali, with all you got to use, how can you lose? Rumble, young man, rumble. Big C, what are you looking forward to in the sports universe?
Well, let me tell you, Charlton, I stopped by the store today, got a bag of cappuccino coffee, got the cappuccino machine warmed up downstairs.
Yeah.
What I'm looking forward to is an epic game tonight, Charlton, a game that will go down in the ages.
Yeah.
This is one of those series that has been very memorable thus far.
Yeah.
And I'm expecting no less than that tonight. Charlton, I'm not pulling for either team. I'm pulling for the best team. That's what I'm pulling for. I'm pulling for a great performance. These great athletes have done America great by giving their all in each and every one of these games, not being disappointing. We've seen so many sporting events that have been lackluster and not worth the dollar that's spent.
Yep.
The Dodgers owe nobody no refunds, and the Astros owe no refunds after this series is over.
Big C, very well said. We all love the game. You can also love it every Monday through Friday at 5 to 6 p.m. worldwide. Follow Big C Sports on the Big C Sports Network, the number one network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the number one sports show in the universe, according to Big C and them good old boys down south. We always want to tell you this. There's never, ever any reason to ever hit a woman. There's no need for sexual assault or domestic violence in the United States of America. We ask everyone, if you know anyone going through that garbage, please call 911, because no one should have to deal with that on their own. And as we always tell you on every Big C Sports show, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.